Hello, my name is Daniel Fauner. I'm a Master of Arts Management student at Carnegie Mellon University, as well as a contributor to a research center at Carnegie Mellon called the Arts Management and Technology Laboratory, where we do a lot of research focusing on the technology benefits that can be used by many different arts organizations. But today, I'm here to talk about CurtainCallX, which is a product and a company that I've developed that is solving the issue that many organizations face when they're trying to let audience members incorporate the use of smartphones or tablets during live performances. So today, I'm going to talk about the requirements that we need for live performances. What are the defining characteristics of a solution that have to be in place to make technology use viable in a performance space. Then I'll discuss some of the shortcomings of other technologies that are currently in place. I'll again go over the characteristics of a viable solution, and then I'll introduce CurtainCallX. So there are 5 key things that I've discovered or thought of that are imperative when you're trying to allow the use of technology in performance. And these are listed on a handout that you have in front of you as well. So 1, it has to silence the device. Nobody likes going to a performance and having a person's phone ring. It can just get so annoying. 2, it has to reduce and eliminate the light emission from the device. 3, it has to protect the intellectual property of the performance. 4, it has to control the content accessible on the device. And 5, it needs to provide a platform for communication between the organization and patrons during the performance. Now, I'm going to talk about a couple different solutions that are currently in place. And as a disclaimer, I'm not saying that any solution that you might be using in your organization is bad or that you shouldn't be using it. But I will show that I feel that CurtainCallX solves many of the issues with current technologies. So if you have a great program right now, stick with it, but this would be a beneficial add-on to your current technology use. So first, a couple years ago, you might remember this story at the New York Philharmonic, when a gentleman's phone began ringing in the middle of a performance, and conductor Alan Gilbert, in the very emotional part of Mahler's Ninth Symphony, turned to the man in the front row and asked him to please turn your phone off. The gentleman in the front row had no idea that it was his phone. He had just been given the phone to him by his company, and for some reason there was an alarm set on the phone. So when it was ringing, he didn't even know that it was his own phone. That's why it continued on for a long time. And everyone hates, hearing that iPhone marimba ring that happens whenever you're in a performance. It's very distracting. Next is talking about Google Glass. And last year, a gentleman went to see a movie while wearing Google Glass. And when he left the movie theater, he was approached by Homeland Security, and this is in Ohio, and questioned for over an hour aggressively, discussing why he was recording a video of a movie in a theater. So there was no way to tell that he didn't even have it switched on, and that the glasses were his prescription glasses. So in terms of intellectual property protection, this is a major concern for the arts. You don't want people taking pictures, you don't want people taking videos during performances, and you definitely don't want Homeland Security hounding your patrons after a performance. And you might also be familiar with the story of Patti LuPone in 2009 during a performance of Gypsy, when she stopped the entire performance and berated a patron in the audience that was taking a picture of her. And the whole performance stopped, and she went on and on until that patron was removed from the theater. So we want to eliminate that possibility. Next are tweet seats. These are popular right now. In the Arts Management Technology Laboratory at Carnegie Mellon, there's been a lot of research conducted about tweet seats, and we currently, for every symphony orchestra concert we have at Carnegie Mellon, we offer tweet seats. And they're great. You can connect with the performance. If there's a director backstage, they can tweet out what's going on, and you can engage with the performance as it's going on. One problem is, though, people using their devices, light is emitted, so they always relegate the tweet seat users to the very back and most undesirable seats in the performance hall. So you're really hurting those patrons that want to use that. Another problem that you have with tweet seats is distraction. There's nothing stopping a patron from leaving the Twitter application and checking their email, checking Facebook, or any other thing, playing Candy Crush even, during the middle of a performance. So you want to make sure that you can control the content so that people aren't distracting themselves, as well as the people around them during a performance. Now this is a really interesting solution that the Philadelphia Symphony Orchestra is working on. They have been working on this for about a year with Drexel University, developing this application that allows users to trace the music as they're going through to see what's going on. There's program notes going throughout the music, so they can see what's going on. And it's an interesting solution. You know, people can use technology, but you still have some of the same issues that you have with tweet seats. One, anybody can leave this application at any time and do whatever else they want. You can't control and keep the person in this application. One interesting thing, though, is the brightness setting. Another key issue with technology is the brightness. So if someone is looking at their phone, not only are they distracting themselves and the people around them, they're distracting people on stage because they'll see these little lights illuminating everybody's faces in the audience. So that's a definite issue with this. Even with brightness, if you turn it all the way down, the light is still emitted as black light. Not black light, it's like ultraviolet, but the light is black and it's still coming from the device and lighting up people's faces. So while there are great application uses for Philadelphia's solution, it still is not a great protection for many of the problems that I've listed so far. So now, just to recap what we need. We need to silence a device, reduce and eliminate the light emission from a device, protect the IP, control the content accessible on the device, and provide a platform for communication between the organization and the patron during performances. So with that, I'm introducing CurtainCallX. And with the nice tagline, please do not turn off your device, the solution is here. CurtainCallX is a two-part system that combines the use of a screen cover that users would put on their device and an application that works in tandem with the device. As you can see in this image, I have a regular iPhone on the left, and the iPhone on the right is covered by my prototype screen cover for CurtainCallX. You can see that it's completely blacked out right now, and there's a cord that connects into the headphone jack of the iPhone that will provide power to the cord. Now, why does it need power? The screen cover is made up of two parts. One is a liquid crystal screen display that when no power is applied, it is opaque. When I apply power to it, it becomes completely clear. And then when I take power away, it becomes opaque again. And if you can't see this very well in the back, I have a video coming up, and I can also show this to you afterwards. So, and the way that I have this working is my application, CurtainCallX, will provide a signal that will go through the power cord into the screen. So when you're in my application, it's clear. You can use the application and all the functionality involved with it. If you leave this app and try and check Facebook, or you try and play Candy Crush, or check email, or check a text, the power will be cut, and you will be blocked from seeing anything that's on the screen. So you're providing that protection that the patron is not going to distract themselves from the performance. Now, the second part of this solution is the use of what's called privacy film. This is a standard type of plastic that is used a lot with technology. You can get pieces that will cover an entire screen. A lot of intellectual property lawyers or lawyers in any field will put this over their screen to protect the information on their computers. So what this does is it's a dark film, so it will dim the screen to some level. But when you turn it at any angle that is not directly on, it becomes completely black. And you'll see this better in the video. And what this is working, some solutions have said to use polarizing film, which makes all the light waves go in the same direction. But that really doesn't stop someone from seeing the light emission. What this is doing is actually blocking the light. You can think of it as blinders on a horse. When a horse is like this, they can't see anything that's on the other side. And that's what this is doing. When I'm at an angle to the side of this, I can't see anything, any light coming from this. So I'm not going to be distracted by anything that's going on the person's screen next to me. So when I combine these two technologies, the liquid crystal technology of this and the plastic from this, I get the prototype of CurtainCallX. And another thing to mention, in terms of light emission directly on the patron's face, by varying the amount of electricity that comes to this screen, this liquid crystal display, I can vary how much light can pass through. So by applying a small amount of electricity, it's not going to be as opaque to let all the light through. So you can adjust that based on the lighting of your performance venue. And also, it looks like, I have it plugged in right now for this sample piece, but the technology used to make this is the same that you have in those cheap $1 calculators that use solar cells to power. It takes very little power to make this function. And that's why you can use the connection to the phone to power it. And by consequence, by being connected to the headphone jack, you're silencing the device. So with this first picture, I'm demonstrating how it would look if a patron was not in the CurtainCallX application. And you can see that on the right side, you cannot see anything that's on the screen. Next, you can see that even though I'm not in the application, I'm using this image of the iPhone. If I was in the application, you can see that I have a dimmed view of the screen, but I can still see what's on the screen, and I'm not going to bother people around me. Next is when I'm viewed from an angle. And this is what I was telling you about, sort of the horse blinders of the privacy film. When I turn my phone at any angle, it becomes completely black. And this will be evident in the video I'll show in a second. So this is very important so that you're not bothering people to your sides. And another interesting thing with this, it's not just blocking people to the sides, it's blocking people behind you as well. Maybe you might be familiar at the Metropolitan Opera, there are screens that have the translations for people to read. If you don't see the person beside you, so if you don't be bothered by that, but if you're in the back and you're looking down in the hall, you can see everybody's in front of you. So you see all these lights all the way down the hall. With this type of screen cover, that is eliminated. You're not going to see light from anybody else's device. So this first video is demonstrating the screen cover and the different aspects of it. So as I hit the application, this is a basic application, I am allowed to see the content that's on the device. When I try to access Facebook, it becomes washed out and I cannot use Facebook. Nothing against Facebook, but you don't want people doing that during your performance. Then I go back to CurtainCallX, and there again I can see it. The next part is showing that when I turn the phone to the sides, regardless of how far I turn it, you still see light emitting from the device. If I turn all the way to the side or turn it towards myself, you can see light at every place. Everyone around you can see the light. Now when I apply the privacy film to the device, you can see that it automatically dims it a little bit. When I turn it to the left, completely black. When I turn it towards myself, completely black. So you can see that it eliminates the trouble of bothering the people next to you. Next is the application. Now this is really interesting because there is a lot of work that can be done for your particular organization that we can customize. And I just built this simple application to say, okay, you select your organization. Oh, I'm at the Performing Arts Managers Conference. Now I want to see a general program. There's an overview of what's going on at PAMC this year. You know, I want to connect with the organization. They have Twitter. So I'm like, oh, I can tweet directly to this organization. I'm not tweeting to people that are just my friends. I'm tweeting specifically for this performance organization. And then you have the survey aspect, which is really interesting. This application will allow people to use it in many different ways. If you want program notes, if you want any type of survey, any type of, maybe you have a game or something you want, or you want to put future events in this, the application can be built very simply. And the reason I'm focusing on developing the app, the screen cover could be used by any application as long as it would be programmed to work with the screen cover. So Philadelphia, if they wanted, they could use the screen cover and that would make their app pretty good. But with this, we have the flexibility to do many different things. And personally, I feel that there are too many applications currently in the arts field. Everybody has their own application, and they're all great. Don't want to knock anybody's applications, but there are so many that if someone going to one performance isn't going to want to download an app and keep that app on their phone for any extended period of time. So by providing a platform of the CurtainCallX app, multiple organizations, any organization, could join and use this platform for their specific organization, their specific performance, so that people that go to multiple performances at different venues would be using the exact same application. I was talking with Alan Brown yesterday about the survey aspect. He's very involved with the intrinsic impact and collecting data about performances. What's interesting about the survey is you can collect a lot of different data, pre-performance, post-performance, and what's interesting is you can collect data during a performance. In terms of the program notes, a patron could be looking at their program, or you can see that a lot of people are looking at the program during a specific song, or a specific part of a song, or act of a play, and the organization could say, well, you know, Bruckner isn't being well received this year, so let's not do as much Bruckner next year. Or Stravinsky, oh, everyone loves Stravinsky, no one was distracting themselves reading the program notes, let's do more Stravinsky. So you could use this data, not even by asking in survey questions, but by just what the patrons are using to vary your programming and to learn more about your audience. So moving forward, this technology is very interesting. That, you know, you can have this for movie theaters and studios, so that you know, Marvel or Disney could connect with their audiences during a performance or a viewing of a movie. Schools and universities is a very interesting aspect so that professors could ensure that no students were getting on Facebook during lectures and distracting themselves or other students during the performance. And as I said earlier with all performing arts, it eliminates the need for every organization to develop an app, which could be very expensive for each organization. And as I'm talking about price really quickly, the goal of the price of, once I start the manufacturing process, is that the price of this screen cover and service would not require the use of finding new funding streams. My goal is that over time, funding that usually goes towards printing programs or any other types of audience engagement could be reallocated to this. And that is my goal, is to keep the price at that point so that arts organizations aren't struggling to find new funding to add this new technology to their organizations. So in summary, the 5 points that I discussed earlier are all solved by CurtainCallX. It silences the device by being plugged into the headphone jack. It reduces and eliminates the light from the device through the screen cover. It protects the intellectual property because people can't leave the application and go to their camera application, because when they go to something else, it becomes blacked out. It controls the content. You can't go to other applications. And it provides a platform via Twitter or Facebook, whatever your organization would want, to connect between the patrons and the organization. And that is CurtainCallX. Thank you. One quick note, as I'm developing this, I'm doing some market research trying to find it. And on the bottom of each of your pages, there's a link to the Facebook page to take a short survey to help me gauge how the community would be interested in this technology. So if you could do that, that would be great in your spare time. Thank you.